Oops.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Courtroom 201, Probate Courtroom. We're here by Zoom. We're into our third week, and we're doing well. We're learning every single day. A couple ground rules I just want to establish with everybody. We're still in a courtroom, so your behavior and your appearance should continue to be appropriate in terms of if you were here in the physical courtroom. I'm going to ask everybody to be muted to start, and when I call your case, I'll ask you to unmute, but the background distractions of noise can be very distracting and interrupting to others they are heard. During the call, keep an eye on the chat button at the bottom center of your screen. The clerk may need to chat with you about something, and if there's a number in your chat bubble, that indicates that she's trying to contact you. At the conclusion of today's hearings, if there's an order that's going to be submitted, it's going to be sent to this email address, cc201@lakecountyil.gov. One more time, it's cc201@lake, county, COUNTY.il.gov. And for today's hearings only, they're going to be sent to the attention of Raven, R-A-V-E-N. We are live on YouTube this morning and every day. So after your matter is concluded, I'm going to ask that you leave the virtual courtroom so that we can better manage the people that are remaining in the courtroom. If you'd like to continue watching the proceedings, you may do so by tuning into YouTube. I'm going to make an appeal to you to please take a look at administrative orders AO 2021, AO 2028, and AO 2030, all which deal with hearing matters remotely without having to appear in court, opening and closing estates, and other matters that are uncontested or agreed. We know for certain we're not getting this right every day, but we are trying. I'm going to make an appeal to everybody to continue to be patient, keep your sense of humor, be kind in the process, and we're going to do everything that we can to make this as painless and efficient as possible. Start calling cases, and the first is the estate of Eugene O'Boyle, 19P 747.
Morning, Judge. Ray Kloss for the record.
Good morning, Mr. Kloss. Is anyone else here today with this matter?
I do not see anybody. My client had contemplated jumping on, but I don't see him, and I don't have anything from him saying that he is waiting. So
I will be honest with you. I did receive your courtesy copies. Thank you. It raised a multitude of questions for me.
Sure.
Starting with you make reference to Deborah as a disabled person. Is she an adjudicated disabled person? Is there an estate?
She's on disability she's on disability, I believe, for rheumatoid arthritis. I don't believe there is an estate.
Okay, so she does not have a guardian.
She does not have a guardian.
There's some concerns that I have in regard to how these distributions might affect benefits for her as a disabled person. I think that's something that needs to be explored. The issue conceptually of the real estate sounds like a good one, but there were no terms proposed, so I can't just generally approve that. I also had some concerns about the proposed draft of the will that was tendered. I'll just raise one specifically on page 2. It talks about these distributions. It doesn't make any provision for if one of those persons were to predecease, that what would happen to those assets in that case. It talks about in the event that all of the children were to predecease, but not any of the others individually.
Correct, Judge. That is something that needs to get fixed.
Yeah.
What I was going to suggest is Judge Tonigan was our original GAL. And I thought it might be helpful to have him come in and take a look at everything and make suggestions and maybe do some further investigation on all this stuff.
Yeah, I think that we need to, take a look at this a little more closely. So if you're asking for the reappointment of Mr. Tottingham as a guardian ad litem.
Yes.
Yes, okay. So why don't we do that? And if you'd prepare that order and submit it, you've got the email address.
I do.
And let's pick a date.
One question, would you like that? Would you like that in Word form or PDF form?
Word.
Okay.
So I'm thinking maybe about 6 weeks. Does that seem reasonable?
Yes, perfect.
July 30th.
That works.
At 9 o'clock. Okay. You're going to send that order in today to the attention of Raven and do that before 3 p.m., please. Okay.
I'll do it right now so I don't forget.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Judge.
The estate of John Stolaric, 19P123.
Good morning, Your Honor. Catherine Shores on behalf of the petitioners. This is it's the estate of Irene Kelly, and this is a supplemental proceeding with my clients John Stolaric and Leslie Strazo as petitioners, both of whom are on the call with us this morning, as well as Attorney Tom Pasquesi.
I apologize for misstating the name of the estate.
No, of course.
Kelly, 19P123. Good morning to you, Ms. Shores, and also to your clients. You said John Stolaric and Leslie Strazo are both on the call?
That's right. And then I do see we have a number of the respondents on the call with us as well.
Okay. So thank you very much for your courtesy copies, which I have received. And there is a volume of material here. I know that there are 4 matters before the court this morning. One is a motion for default, petition for instruction, request for approval of an accounting, and approval of a distribution plan.
And to clarify, Your Honor, so our petition for instruction has 3 counts. One is the petition for instruction, the approval of the accounting, and the approval of plan of distribution. The motion for default is filed after we have served everyone, all of the respondents, and to seek relief on that petition.
Okay, so you're asking to proceed on the motion for default judgment this morning?
We are, that's right, Your Honor.
Okay. And are any parties that are present objecting to proceeding on the motion for default?
Your Honor, I'm not sure. I filed my appearance. My name is Sandra Sarametta. I filed an appearance on behalf of myself and my minor children, Georgia and Lila Foster.
When did, oh, I do actually see that was filed on June 16th.
Yes.
And did you send copies of that appearance to the attorney of record? And
I did,
Your Honor.
okay, you received that.
We did.
Okay. All right. So,
I think to clarify, so Sandra is a specific legatee, right?
That's right, and the parent of the minors.
A parent of the minors, but there's already a trust created for the minors, right?
That's correct.
And those trustees have not filed an appearance.
The current trustees of the trust are our clients.
Right.
okay. All right. So, Ms. Sarameda, what's your position today? I don't know what you're asking to
Well,
do.
I'm asking for guidance also because Jeff refuses to respond to my requests to set up a new trustee because I know the other 2 would like to step down. And am I able to be a sole trustee? How do I make him respond?
Your Honor, if it helps, I can walk you through the issue.
So I tell you, I'm gonna. I think this matter is going to take a little more time, so I'm gonna pass it.
Sure.
That I can address some of the other matters that I can maybe address more efficiently. Okay.
That's good. Thank
All
you,
right,
Judge.
Thank you.
Thank you.
State of Seymour v. Lippin.
Morning, Your Honor.
Good morning,
On
Mr.
behalf
Quinn.
of the business entities.
Brian Rosenblatt on behalf of Leon and Mary Deutsch.
Good morning.
Richard Cates on behalf of Judith Lippin.
Good
So
morning,
we're all
everyone.
here. Judge, since we were in court last week, this is before the court to identify, get the court's permission to identify some property for a 1031 exchange. We've been submitting, a lot of material has been submitted to Mr. Rosenblatt, which he needs to review with his clients. And I was hoping that the court would continue this another week for status, which would take us to the 25th.
Okay,
Have an
I'm going
agreement.
to ask everyone other than the three parties who are present on this particular case to mute themselves because there's background noise that is causing distraction. So anyone who is not present on this matter, please mute yourself. Okay, so Mr. Quinn, you're asking for an additional week?
To the 25th, Judge, and then that would be to set a briefing schedule. We have to get everything done by the 15th, but we've worked, there's a lot of stuff that's gone back and forth in the last week since we were in court.
Okay, and is anyone objecting to that 1 week continuance for that purpose?
No, Your Honor, we're in agreement, and I told Mr. Quinn yesterday that if we can't get an agreed order by next Thursday at this time, my intention was to file a brief on that day so as to not have to go through a whole briefing schedule and delay it any longer. Just want to get this, moving as quickly as possible because we respect the timeline.
Okay, and I
But
appreciate
the intention is an agreed order next week.
Okay, that's the goal, and I'm optimistic that it's going to happen. So I'll see you on June 25th. And Mr. Quinn, are you going to be submitting the order today?
I sure am, Your Honor.
Okay, and you know how to do that, and to Raven's attention.
I'm going to send it right to Raven.
All right, thank you so much. Have a nice day.
Thanks. Bye now.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, do
Thank you.
No. Okay. Okay, has anybody not checked in on a case that you're here on? Is there anybody who's here on a case other than the estate of Irene Kelly? Okay. All right, so I'm recalling the estate of Irene Kelly. I did read the pleadings in regard to the issue of the trustee for the minors, where you're seeking the direction of the court, that there's the trust code doesn't clarify who that successor trustee should be or the trust agreement. So, but you can go ahead, Ms. Shores.
Sure, Your Honor. The trust agreement provides that if the nominated trustees are not going to act, and then there's some successor trustees who have also already resigned, and if none of those people are going to act, then either of the parents of a minor can name a trustee. Now, in this situation, we have two parents who are not married, and my understanding is that, they're not on great terms. So we have asked them to collectively name a trustee. They've been unable to do so. I don't think at any fault of Ms. Zarameta's. I think Mr. Foster has been unwilling to agree, or at least unwilling to communicate. And so we looked through the terms of the trust code. The trust code tells us that first, if there's a trustee vacancy that's not filled by the terms of the trust agreement, then a majority of the beneficiaries can name a trustee. Of course, here our beneficiaries are minors, so they themselves cannot name it, but our trust code does now provide for representation of minors. First, a parent, but if there's a conflict between the parents, the lineal descendants of the settler of the trust. In this case, we have a descendant in Mr. Jeff Foster, but we don't have a lineal descendant. And then if there's no lineal descendants, then the trust, the parent who is a beneficiary of the trust. In this case, both parents are beneficiaries of the trust. Now, at the time that we filed our petition, we'd not really had much communication with Ms. Zarameta, and other than to know that they were not able to name a trustee. She is here, and the trust agreement does provide that either parent can name a trustee. So I'm not certain if perhaps under the trust agreement terms, we can default Mr. Foster and move forward under the terms. But I think that the trustees would prefer not to take a position on that and seek the court's.
Okay, so it's after review of the court file, it appears that there has been a very thorough and exhaustive effort to give Jeff Foster notice and opportunity to name a successor trustee, and that opportunity has not been taken. So I am going to default Jeff Foster in terms of his authority to name a successor trustee. Ms. Sarah Mehta, you are the other parent, correct?
Correct.
And is there a successor trustee that you would like to name for the minor children?
I guess the only people I can think of are my parents. If I can't name myself, would I be able to name my parents?
I don't know.
Your Honor, I don't think the trust agreement prohibits her from naming herself.
From naming herself. Okay, so you could name yourself.
Okay, then I propose to name myself.
Okay. So I'm going to accept that appointment of herself to act as trustee. And then are you going to have her sign a acceptance of?
Yes, Your Honor, but because this is done as a motion for default, I think we do have to provide notice and wait 30 days before that can take effect.
Okay.
And so then once the order is final, we've waited 30 days. With the court's approval, the current 6 trustees will resign. And then we'll have Ms. Aramita sign a nomination and acceptance of hers.
Okay, so then we need to set it out for some date past 30 days.
That's right. And we do have also counts 2 and 3, Your Honor, if we can address those while we're here as well.
Yes. So do you want to speak to those?
Sure. Count 2 is the count to approve our accounting and plan of distribution for the remainder assets of the trust. And actually, just to inform the court, at the time we filed the petition, we did not have receipts from, I think it was, we had 16 out of the 20 remainder beneficiaries or something along those lines. At this point, we have received receipts approving the accounting from everyone except Jeff Foster.
Okay.
And Mr. Foster, of course, is only approving on behalf of the minor children. Ms. Zarameda has approved. So I think we have everyone approving who has the authority to approve at this point. And so we're just looking for the court's approval of that accounting of the plan of distribution.
All right, so nobody that's present here today is objecting to the approval of the accounting, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, all right. I'm going to approve the accounting as submitted to the court.
And this, the proposed order that we submitted to the court, Your Honor, provided that distributions would be made once the order is final, so not for 30 days.
Okay. All right, so let's find a date.
And then, I'm sorry, Your Honor, just count 3 real quick. Count 3 is one other very small accounting of, there were some coins in Ms. Kelly's basement. Those have been sold. We provided an accounting. And again, everyone has approved with the exception of Jeff Foster.
Yes, so I will also approve the accounting of the coins, or what was in the safe deposit box, I believe. Or
coins and some cash.
Yeah, okay. All right, now we're looking for a date. So.
Now we're looking for a date,
okay.
Yeah.
July 23rd.
That works for me.
Okay. Ms. Shores, you are going to prepare the order and submit it to Raven's attention today?
I will do so, yes.
And again, thank you for your very thorough recitation of facts and law and submitting everything to the court in a timely way so that I could review it in advance of today's hearing. Thank you.
Of course. And just for clarification for the order, Your Honor, for purposes of counts 2 and 3 for the default, I think we need to default all of the respondents, although no one is objecting, but just for procedure so that we have a final order, I will provide that it's defaulting everyone.
Yes, that's
okay.
That's the order.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so is anyone who is remaining on the Zoom call, do they have a matter that's pending that has not already yet been addressed? If so, unmute yourself and speak up.
Hello? Judge, do you want to speak to this phone?
All right, there's someone on the Zoom call with a phone number 1-707-621-4099. Hello?
Yes, hello, that's me. I'm supposed to be muted. I'm not trying to say anything.
Okay, are you just here as an observer? I'm just trying to determine whether or not you have a case on the call so that it can be heard. Do you have a case on the
Yes,
call?
no, I do not have anything to say. I'm supposed to be muted. Sorry.
You're not muted.
Giant.
Good morning, Miss Feltner. You're the first to check in currently, so it'll just be a few because I know we're scheduled for 10 o'clock, okay? Good morning, Mr. Feltner. We're just waiting for everybody to join in, okay? Good morning, Jeremy.
Morning, how are you?
Doing well. I know Mr. Schwartz is just now joining in.
Yeah, I just got off the phone with him, and then Bella should be logging in a second as well.
Okay, so we'll just hold off then until everybody, all the parties are here, and then
Perfect.
Judge will start.
Great.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, I'm here on, I know you're speaking with Mr. Spitzer, but I'm here on the Feltner matter as well. Madam Clerk, Bella just texted Jeremy and I saying she's waiting to get in. I don't know if there's a waiting room.
She may not be in the right courtroom or in the right
She may have
meeting.
picked the
ID,
wrong
'cause I don't
wrong
see
date.
her waiting.
Gotcha. I will let her know that she needs to get the June 18th.
Yeah, make sure she's on the June 18th one. And then I just usually just copy and paste the meeting ID number because it makes it easier.
Sure.
But yeah.
Okay, I'll let her know.
Were you able to tell her to get into the right courtroom? There she goes.
I texted her about the correct date and ID and all that,
She's in.
and
All right.
there she is.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Your
Hi,
Honor.
Judge.
And Ms. Rappaport, welcome to you.
Good morning, Judge. Nice to see you,
Nice to
even
see you,
remotely.
So what progress have we made? Should I ask you, Ms. Rappaport, what the status of things are?
Well, we have been talking all morning, and we've been talking since the last court appearance in an effort to come to some agreed upon resolution, at least on an interim basis, if not long term. And I'm sorry to report that I don't have an agreed disposition for Your Honor. I can tell you that I've been involved in the case for quite a long time. I found an appearance from 2007. And I know the parenting plan was put in place in 2009. The Matthew is an adult disabled individual who is 31 years of age. I have not met with him. I'm not sure what Your Honor knows about my circumstances. Last week I had some minor surgery and I'm perfectly fine and healthy, but declined to go out and meet Matthew during this period of time. I spoke with both parents. I reviewed my old file. I've spoken at length with the attorneys. And I do think that everybody is well-meaning at this point in time. I do think that things reached kind of a crisis point in everyone's mind around Matthew's 31st birthday. I think that you are aware that when the shelter in place order came down, that the parties agreed that Matthew would stay at home with his mom. There has been a history of Matthew seeing Dad approximately every other weekend and one evening during the week for dinner. But Matthew is someone who is in a high risk category. And it's not because of his disability. He's on the autism spectrum. And he's fairly high functioning. He was working at the VA. He was doing volunteer work at the Libertyville Library. And that was all very good. But he does have Crohn's and he has iritis. And so this is an autoimmune problem that is, it displays itself in the gastrointestinal tract and in the connective tissue of his eyes. So he's on Humira, which I think you also know. And Humira is a medication that suppresses his immune reactions, right? So if he becomes ill, if he is exposed to the virus, he's in a worse position than most people, I think. And of course, I'm just a lawyer, but he is at risk. In addition to that, when he was a little fellow, when he was about 4 or 5, he had double pneumonia. And that in of itself might not be terribly important, except that he was on a respirator for 2 to 3 weeks, which caused damage to his lung, and there was lung surgery. So my perception as a layperson, of course, because again, I'm only a lawyer, but my perception is that he is at a higher risk than another individual might be in his position, than any of us. Even at my advanced age, I think he's in a worse position than I am. So that being the case, the question is, what can you do to limit his exposure? That's that to the virus. And the parties agreed that he would stay at Mom's house. And now that's no longer agreed. And I understand that. And Dad wants to see him. And the great news is that they have been seeing one another through Zoom, and it's gone really well. It's an hour a night, and they are doing the kinds of things they used to do in person. So the question of this individual not having a relationship with his father, for me, is not a factor here. We don't have to have reunification. They never, there was a period of time that they weren't seeing each other since mid-March. I'm sorry, since there was a period of time that they were not in contact since mid-May. But in the last week, they have been in contact, and it's gone really well by all accounts. So the question is, what's appropriate to maintain the relationship, but keeping in mind these risk factors? Because if he is infected, I have no idea how that could go, but I cannot think that it would go well. So in working at settlement, I'd suggested, rather than an alternating weekend scheme, a Friday to Sunday and a Thursday dinner, why not frequent contacts, shorter duration? It ensures the relationship is not interrupted. It preserves it limits Matthew's exposure. And it, of course, is offensive to Dad, who wants to make sure that everyone understands he would never intentionally expose his son to this disease. But he doesn't live alone. And it seems to me that if there are other individuals coming in and out of the house, that there are risks. And so he has a significant other, and I have no reason to think that that individual would not also be conscientious. But there's also young adults that, one in particular who lives in the area. I don't know what limitations he's willing to be subject to. So I know if we're erring on the side of safety, we can say it's outdoors, it's the individuals to which Matthew was exposed would be limited, possibly just a father or just father and his significant other, who's like a stepmother, right? But it's scary. I don't have a signpost to say, okay, as of June 21st, everything is fine, because I don't know that. Dad has tested, and Josh, I'm just going to tell everyone that I'm told Dad has tested for COVID and he is negative. So I believe that contact with Dad is safe, certainly under those circumstances. But again, in an effort to maintain the relationship, we don't have to bend over backwards. The relationship is not lost. They're getting along very well. There's no animosity between the child and his dad. And we just need to put in place, in my estimation, without knowing more and without having in-person conversation with Matthew, that it's frequent, a little bit shorter, and we come back and look at it in 30 or 60 days.
When you say a little bit shorter, what do you have something in mind in terms of frequency and in terms of length of visits, time spent?
Of course, there's no science around it. I'm just sort of going on what I might do in another kind of a case where you're trying to ensure this ongoing relationship. He was Thursday nights from, I think it's 5 to 7:30, so a dinner, and alternating weekends from Friday to Sunday. It makes sense to me to look at Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, with Sunday being maybe a little longer day. As I said to a few of the individuals here, with in this COVID time, every day is Saturday and no day is Saturday. So Dad works, he works from home. I'm told that his significant other is currently working from home. Matthew is not working. Donna is working from home. So in terms of at what time of day, whatever's convenient for the parents. Dinners, I always like to have parenting time involve dinners or meals, because I think it gives you something to do, and it's always happy to have yummy food. So I would think dinners on Tuesdays and Thursdays and a longer period of time on Sundays. And if the Sundays were to take place at Dad's home with restrictions on who could be present, that's about where I am.
Okay, thank you so much. Mr. Schwartz, do you want to?
Sure. Bill and I appreciate Bella's assistance in this matter, but we don't agree with the recommendations or her statements today. I just disclosed to the parties and this court, my client would testify to this, that he had a test on the 15th, he's negative. So the concern about some kind of transmission from him to Matthew or the like is non-existent. While dinner and short periods of parenting time are great, they're not the same as having overnights with your child. You don't get full immersive time with the child. And I don't think that there is anything really before your honor that demonstrates that Dill has not been acting appropriately during the COVID pandemic. He's testified on prior occasions that he's been working from home. I mean, there's a governor order that says parenting time is and transport via parenting time is essential travel. So why this hasn't occurred, I don't want to get into it. But going forward, I really see no reason why Dill should not have the opportunity to have his son in his residence for overnights. I mean, there's really nothing, set forth to your honor about his actions. And even more so, I mean, with this negative COVID test, I think it assuages everyone's fears that this is really not an issue. And if a position is that it, this parenting time, I don't think even Diller has even said that he wants parenting time somewhere other than his residence. It's not like he's taking him to a public place. I know parks have been bandied about, but again, the child has a phobia of bugs, and everyone's agreed that he's on the autism spectrum, and so keeping his attention at a park for any appreciable period of time, I don't think is really feasible, nor would it be really a great parenting time per se, because there are so many other things going on that, and what Dill has previously testified to is that they go home and they watch movies and DuckTales and all these things that cannot occur if we're in an outside setting, cannot occur if they're not at Dillard's house. And so what in effect we're doing is he hasn't seen his child since March, and Zoom has been going great. Everyone agrees, so Dillard does not disagree with that. But for us to say that he can't have Matthew at his residence, can't have Matthew inside his residence, I really think is almost punishing Dill for something that is really not an issue and nothing he's shown to the court that he's done improperly or not in the best interest of Matthew. Matthew's health is paramount to Dill and would never do anything to harm him. And I don't see why having consistent, regular parenting time with Matthew at his residence puts him in any more harm than the time he is spending with Donna. So we would like parenting time. We already have an order of court that says today parenting time is outside, Sunday parenting time, we're supposed to set the parameters for both of them today. And I would respectfully request that normal, routine, consistent parenting time pursuant to the agreed order begins this upcoming Monday, which would entail a Thursday dinner. And the parties have already agreed that for July 4th weekend, even though some of it's Dill's time, that he was allowed Donna to have that weekend. So I would request that he have this upcoming Thursday, this upcoming following weekend, the full weekend, Friday to Sunday, and then we figure out, make up parenting time and go back to the normal schedule.
I'm going to ask Ms. Rappaport for a clarification. So were you saying that the parenting time that you are recommending, frequent for shorter durations, would be allowed to be at Mr. Feltner's home?
Was interested in knowing what restrictions he was willing to abide by in terms of having other people in the home. But if it's limited to himself and his significant other, that seems reasonable to me. And I just wanted to add this one thing, and I know Jeremy will want an opportunity to chime in, but we are talking about an adult disabled individual. And although his emotional and developmental age may be delayed, right? The opportunity to parent a child, a young child, is one thing. This is an adult. And so that period of time, that block of time, in my estimation, and again, I don't have any science about this, it's just my view in this case, it's not the same to miss that block of time, that in fact, more frequent time is not only a replacement, but it may be preferable in the long run. I'm talking about every Sunday, as opposed to not to see each other, for a week at a time. Every Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday is a lot of good, valuable time in a relationship, right, with an adult.
And of course, Mr. Cooper, I fully intend to get to you. I'm just trying to clarify something before I am not overlooking you in any way. Mr. Schwartz, I just wanted to clarify with you in regard to your client's request for the parenting time at his home, in terms of restrictions about access to people or who would be in the home and those kinds of things. So that's something that you want to address from your perspective of your proposal.
Certainly. I mean, he resides with a woman named Georgine, and I don't think anyone has an issue with her being present. I think perhaps Bella and or Jeremy will reference, I think Miss or Georgine has a child that does come to the house. But I can speak to my client about this, but if the concern is this, not Georgine, but this other third party being present, then for the time allotted to Dill for parenting time with Matthew at his residence, I'm sure as an olive branch to get this thing moving, I can speak to him about agreeing to not have the stepdaughter or Georgine's daughter present during these parenting times. But our position is still, we want the full block, a Sunday, afternoon to dinner. That's not the same as having a Friday evening to a Sunday evening.
May I just speak to that point real quickly?
Dill, I'm sure the court will allow us to have some kind of breakout if you want to speak to me before you address the court, just so you and I can speak about that.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Spitzer, you have been a model of patience. Thank you very much.
It's rare. Yeah, so we've, I had the opportunity to speak with Donna, obviously over the last couple of weeks, and then also to speak with her briefly after Josh, Bella, and I had a conversation this morning. So we are generally in agreement with Bella's recommendations and Bella's investigation and reports as far as, we agree that the relationship between Dill and Matthew is important, and that the Zoom calls have been going very, very well. And those have been, I think, about an hour, and they've been able to talk. And so, we're 100% on board with continuing those. We're on board with doing frequent contact. My client had mentioned to Bella, I think it's the Mundelein Park District, where they've got different areas where Matthew and Dillard could go, where there won't be anyone else around. My client knows that they like to watch movies, so she actually purchased a portable DVD player that Matthew could have with him so that he could watch DuckTales or whatever it is that they like to do together, things like that.
Tell me again about this location that you're proposing.
The Mundelein Park District has a wide open park. I'm not familiar with it, but my client knows about it. There's not really anybody there. It has like part of it. It's very big. It's basically a wide open area, and they've got like I think the gazebo. I'm going to say that wrong, but like the picnic areas, places where they could go sit and eat and talk or watch a movie or do whatever they need to do. There's a pool that's a part of it, but obviously the pool is closed for the summer, so those things are all shut down. And it's, kind of out of the way, so there's not a lot of foot traffic. So it would just be the two of them in a location where they can stay away from third parties. So that was going to be our suggestion as far as where the parenting time should take place. My client agrees with the frequent contact. She agrees that, it's important that they maintain it. Our concerns, are again, that nobody knows everything. I mean, my wife works in a hospital, and I ask her about the COVID stuff, and she goes, every day, the news is changing as far as what we think how it spreads and, and the impact it has on people. But our number one concern is obviously that Matthew is a very high risk individual and has had these health problems in the past. You heard that all from Bella, so I don't want to repeat it. And our concern, I think we generally agree with what Bella was recommending. The concerns we had over Dill's house would be that there's this other young adult that we believe resides there. We thought she was living there, and sees her dad, who lives in Chicago. She's in college, but obviously college is shut down. So understanding is there are people in and out. We don't have any control, or the court doesn't have any control over Georgina and her daughter, but obviously, we want to emphasize that nobody is making any allegation that we think Dill would purposefully place Matthew's health at risk. We just think that, his health is the most important thing, and the safest way to do that is to have Dill and Matthew in a one-on-one situation where they can wear masks, where they're not around other people, where they're not in a residence where there's a possibility of people coming and going. If the daughter's visiting her dad and coming in, or seeing friends and coming in, that's one of our major concerns over the house. So Donna is willing to do whatever whatever it takes, as far as trying to encourage this, and the frequent contact, we agree with Bella, would be important. I think as far as the phobia of bugs, and my client, I mean, we could speak a little bit more to that, but I don't believe she thinks it'd be an issue for him to be outside, that he's fine with it, and that it would be, just, I think, a good opportunity for Matthew and Dill to spend that time together. So that, I mean, that's kind of where we're at. We generally agree with Bella, and our concern over Dill's house would be the other people that are possibly coming and going. I think it's fantastic he tested negative for COVID. That definitely allays the concerns over the hospital visit from a couple of weeks ago. That obviously helps a lot. So,
Judge, if I may just briefly speak about the park issue. So if we're concerned about Matthew being exposed to third parties, all right, we all know the weather is changing, and I imagine that these parks will be filled with people. If they're going to be sitting at a picnic table, who knows who was there before them? Who knows how crowded it will be? So the idea that a park is somehow safer from Dillard's backyard, which is in his control, I don't think holds much weight. Now, I get the idea of an open space, but if they're sitting at a picnic table and there's 6 tables in this area, and then every table is filled with people, and there's one open one, and Dillard and Matt, and the only open one is the one directly in the middle of everyone else, how is that safer than sitting in Dill's backyard? And that's what my concern is. I mean, I get the idea, but realistically, I don't think it solved the concern that Ms. Rappaport or Mr. Spitzer are raising about being in an open place. Dill's backyard is safe. And I know my client wanted to speak to you directly, Your Honor, but I'd like to break out with him to talk with him prior to that happening. But I think that specific issue about being in a park, I don't think solves the issue or the concern that people are raising. I think Dill's house in a controlled setting in his backyard solves that issue.
All right, I'm going to create a breakout room for you to talk to your client.
Thank you, Judge.
Yeah, you know what? I'm trying to work that. Okay.
since it's taking a moment, Your Honor, I can briefly address the picnic issue, which is also that my client does have a portable picnic table as well that she's gotten to accomplish that. So, I mean, they could set it up pretty much anywhere. Again, she is trying to do whatever she can to make this work.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Like, she's got everything.
Okay.
Go to Dillard's backyard.
Have you been invited to the breakout room?
No, I didn't get a pop-up. I've been in breakout rooms before, but I did not get a pop-up. Dillard, have you seen anything? I know you're on mute, but can you unmute that?
No, I haven't seen any pop-ups.
Sometimes it works so smoothly, and other times
Sure.
it's really a struggle.
Yeah.
Every day the struggle is real. Josh, do you and Dill want to maybe mute yourselves and just have a telephone conversation? You could obviously step away from the camera if this isn't working.
We can do that if we don't get a breakout room. That's perfectly fine.
I don't know, for some reason it is not, 'cause I tried it, it wasn't working. And then Raven, who's far more confident than I am, is trying it and it's also not working. And I don't know why.
Okay. If it doesn't work, I'm happy to mute and turn off video and go give them a ring. That's whatever works for your honor.
And you're not receiving an invite.
Correct. I got nothing coming up.
How about, did you open that? Try open?
Oh, I just got it.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, so Dylan and I will pop in there and we'll come back when we're done. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, I'm going to step away to
All right. I'll mute myself for now.
So we three could chat.
That's true.
I'm here. Three of us.
Well, and I've been on mute because I don't know if you can hear my dog. I have one dog who's very offended to be in the crate right now. So
I did that. Worked from home on Monday, and everything was fine until I was in the middle of a mediation Zoom actually, and then my dogs, a UPS guy came to the door. My two dogs lost their mind, and everybody, yeah. So all the people were like, "What is that?" I was like, "Sorry."
Attack.
Yeah. Now I know. And it's random. You don't know. All of a sudden the doorbell rings, or maybe there's a squirrel or whatever. So
right. Exactly.
So I'm locked in a bedroom because of that. My dog's out there.
Yeah. Where's Matthew?
He sleeps in late.
Oh, lucky him.
This is the problem with autism. And yeah, when he had to get up and go to the VA for 8 or 9 years, he's been doing those mail runs. He had trouble getting sleep. Now he's getting 7 or 8 hours a night. And I didn't even realize he needed that much for months. He's doing great with his CPAP. I mean, awards and everything. So he's healthier, really not going, but he loves it and they love him there, you know. So I don't know when he can get back there. That worries me. Because that's a hot spot. He goes through the nursing home. He just goes through the hospital. He goes 10 miles a day and delivers all the mail and packages. He loves it, but I don't know.
Yeah, the VA is tough. That's a hard, and the nursing homes, everything is just really bad right now.
So, and they know, and they love him, and they're going to leave it open, the Navy guys, to see, because he's been there 8, 9 years. Every day, 6 hours, all year, Monday through Friday, 6 hours a day. So even this summer he goes. So, but it's volunteer. So we'll see.
No, I think it's great. You know, one thing I didn't say to the judge, but and Donna, you know this, but Jeremy, I don't know that you know that Donna had been doing annual reports and sending them to me for years, and Christmas cards and things like that. I mean, yeah, I saved those.
Just in case they wanted to know about his development. Since they switched over to do the reports differently, I haven't sent you a report. So now you have to do it a different way. So,
well, and technically, I don't think I was still riding along, but you know, it was always kind of fun to see, and the Christmas cards were always, you know, they just a day bright.
Matthew and Ben always together. Yeah. This past year when I turned 65, December 7th, at Christmas, the three of us went, we met Ben in Hawaii, in Honolulu. Very big trip, but we went there because we needed to go to Pearl Harbor in Matthew's mind, because my birthday was on Pearl Harbor Day. You cannot not go to Pearl Harbor without that. So we went for the week vacation, and it was, we see Ben about once a year, and it was wonderful. It was just, I'm glad we went when we did, obviously. So yeah, I will never forget. We got a lot of good pictures from that. So
it's awesome.
That is awesome.
Did you say he volunteers at the Libertyville Library also?
Cook Library. Yeah, I was, for CEDAW, I was in vocation for years, and then I was a little higher, went back and got my special ed endorsement, but I started out there as a job coach. So at Baker Square, he was the greeter for a lot of years and got paid on Wednesdays because
I saw him there.
That was Matthew. Yep. And then I know Cook Library, so they let him go there. He won't do anything different. He does the same thing. He stays the same hour every Tuesday night, but I read a book and he does his thing. he's gotten very independent. We've worked on, he can put the CPAP machine on. That was one of our goals through this home-based thing, the Medicare waiver or Medicaid waiver we have. He now can put it on, take it off, and do everything himself, which was good. He does the laundry, he heats up things, he changes clothes like 4 times a day. He loves clothes. We do the elliptical every other night. We watch a movie.
Ms.
So
Feltner,
he's,
I'm
yes.
sorry, but everybody's back in, so
Okay,
I'm gonna go ahead and get Judge.
Thank
Great,
you.
thank you.
Oh, sorry.
For crying out loud.
Okay, we are back.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity to speak with my client, Your Honor. It was regarding the issue of this third party, Georgine's daughter, and I could just briefly speak on that. She's a junior at Mizzou. She works in Missouri, excuse me, has her own apartment. She's a full-time student. She has not been in Illinois at the residence since approximately April 25. So almost 60 days ago. So there is no third party coming in the house. It is Dillard and Georgine alone. And that's how it's been for at least until approximately April 25th.
And I know I have no authority over Georgine, but has she been tested? I know Dillard's been tested.
It's not my understanding that she has been tested. But you know, as I think as Dillard testified to last court date, she's even been, I guess you can say, stay-at-home quarantine because her job was doing that, I think, back in December or January of this year. Is that correct, Dill?
Since March, her job, they sent everybody home. She works for a medical organization.
Okay, is there anything else anyone wants to say or Ms. Rappaport in response to all that has now been said? Anything additional?
Your Honor, just so you know, the clerk's audio is on, so we can hear her typing and all that. I don't want to, sorry.
Okay, nothing else. All right, so, you know, here's the thing. First of all, I'm delighted about the Zoom calls, that everyone's been cooperative and that the relationship has been, is thriving by that method, and that's all positive. The other thing I'm delighted to hear is that I've heard from everybody that everyone's well-intended here, that really it's not about hard feelings toward the other person, and that Matthew is everybody's top concern, and I think that is wonderful. I'm glad that Ms. Rappaport has now had the opportunity to rejoin us in this case, a case that she has, you know, been long involved in and familiar with the parties. And I think she is an asset to us going forward, and has, you know, heightened my awareness of the serious nature of a potential exposure for Matthew, giving me a little bit, enlightening me in terms of medical history here. But so I have to balance all of these things, and knowing that the relationship between Matthew and his father is every bit as important as the relationship with Matthew and his mother, knowing that his physical health is a top priority for us, and that he is at higher risk than than just the average person. You know, there's no perfect answer here. I mean, there's no perfect place. There's no perfect situation to keep him shielded completely from exposure. I mean, even in Miss Feltner's home, I assume that I think she lives there alone, but she has to leave the home to do certain things, I would imagine, in terms of grocery shopping, or, you know, there is always contact, there is always risk. I will tell you candidly that I have some personal concerns about this parenting time taking place in a public place like a park. I think that that is a well-intended suggestion, but we have no control over that place. And yes, we can bring in a table, but we don't have any control. I mean, what if there's a need to use a bathroom, or what if there, you know, there are other people that come near that we don't have any control, or, you know, we can't really provide any protection. Plus, I don't know, I mean, on a perfect day, under perfect circumstances, that could be a lovely place to visit, but on an ongoing basis, I don't know that that provides a kind of normal, comfortable place for this parenting time to take place. So that is a genuine concern for me. The other thing is that we don't know how long this could go on. This current circumstance could go on for a year or more. I mean, we really don't know. So I think we have to start working toward some reasonable way and method of exchange, and also location or locations for Matthew to have to fulfill his relationship with both of his parents. And I really am gonna, you know, make another attempt here at trying to find some point of compromise, because I will tell you, it's very simple for me to say, this is what it's going to be, and you know, bang the gavel. But you folks are the ones that are, and Matthew most especially, are going to have to live with the terms of that. And so I think that your participation in that is vital to our success going forward, and especially to, you know, for being comfortable. Matthew, I'm certain, is very well aware of the stresses and the tensions between both of you, Donna and Dill. And, you know, we don't want to add to that in any way, any more than is absolutely necessary. So I would love to find a compromise position that everybody could agree to. And then we could go forward and say to Matthew, you know what, we all agree that this is going to be a good and workable situation. I think if we can establish some certain circumstances by agreement in Dill's home, to establish, you know, that maybe there won't be other people present. I don't know if Georgine would be willing to be tested on a voluntary basis. Obviously, I don't have any control over her, but just as a reassurance, I think, to the circumstance, and you know, a commitment to keeping that location, you know, as I don't even know what the word is, but as free, or as limiting the risk in that home to the greatest extent possible, as I'm sure you are doing in your home. And then establishing two very secure places where Matthew can feel comfortable and can, you know, enjoy his time with his father, and then also returning to his mother, so that there's confidence by both parents in both places. There's confidence for Matthew in both places. There's confidence for this court in both places. I think we have to start working toward that reality. I don't think that, you know, under a gazebo in a park is going to be any kind of a long-term fix for the concerns that we have here. And we have to have, he is entitled to have a full relationship with his father, as much as he is entitled to have the best health protections that we can possibly afford him. So, you know, I kind of want to reopen the conversation. Otherwise, I end up imposing on you folks some rules and orders that I hesitate to do, because I don't think anybody's going to be entirely pleased with them. And I think that it's going to be really important for you two to be kind of part of that process. So I'm going to take the park out of the picture, because I don't think that that is a reasonable I mean, you know, maybe on, for a certain day or, you know, but I don't think as on an ongoing basis that that is a reasonable resolution for this really challenging situation that we have here. So as I say, you know, I'm going to put the ball in your court, Jill, in terms of creating in your home an environment that is as safe as possible. I'm going to put the ball in your court, Donna, in regard to opening your mind to another location other than your home being a safe environment with his father for Matthew to spend some time.
Maybe, Your Honor, could you, not to double down on the breakout rooms, but if you put, maybe let me talk to Donna real quick,
Yeah.
just in one, and then we'll chat
Sure.
briefly. Yeah.
And perhaps, Judge, you could put me and Dill in one, and Donna and Jeremy in one, and maybe we could discuss, because we have today's parenting time that is ordered from last court date to discuss and figure out, as well as Sunday for Father's Day.
And then I'll go forward. Yes.
And then what forward would be.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Judge.
Sure.
Give me 1 second, Mr. Schwartz. I'm just trying to move you into one.
Okay, Bella can just hang out alone with you.
Yeah, I'm thinking that works for me. Or maybe it's just you and me. Look at this. Maybe the parties are together.
Yeah, Donna and Dill in their own breakout room. They would do their best to break out. Dill, don't answer, please. Well, I think the clerk got out, but didn't take us out.
Would you like me to get out? I could.
No.
There you go.
She's kept, there we go.
There goes my dog. I don't know if you can hear it. It's awful.
That's all right.
Josh, can you do me a favor?
Sure.
In your breakout room in the bottom, see if it allows you to go back into your breakout room.
Oh, it says join breakout room.
Please, can you?
All right, I've never done this. All right, so Dill, Dill's already in there. It looks like I'll jump in there.
Thank you, Josh.
So did you
Sorry,
guys get a bunch of training on this? You must have.
We did a little bit. Judge had more extensive training. They did multiple test sessions with them and things of that nature. And then Judge had something with us in regards to it. But it's just the breakout rooms that are a little newer. We tried not to use them as much, but.
Yeah. So are you there every day, 5 days a week? Wow.
We actually never stopped. We just went down to a skeleton crew. So we would rotate coming in, but the court, and then now since last week, Monday, we're back full time.
You know, I was working from home and then I started to go into the office and it was so much better because it seemed more normal and I was away from the refrigerator. That was a problem.
Yeah, that has definitely been a problem. And then the weather wasn't really nice in the beginning. So it's like, I think my kids have only really been out of the house like 2 or 3 times since this has happened. And it's
How old are your kids?
I have a 14-year-old and I have a 5-year-old. I have an 18-year-old, but he's out of the house. So,
Wow.
but we've recently started movie nights. I purchased a projector and screen, and we do movie nights outside with our neighbor and her kids. Because
Oh, wow, that's brilliant.
yeah, we all
Yeah.
know that we're negative and we've been quarantined, and so we try to just bring a little bit of normalcy back to them little by little. Now that the weather's getting better.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching you nod your head during this case, so I know you've got some ideas, but
Well, it's just hard because I know everything, like I said, everything is changing every day. And even
Yeah.
though right now parks are open, sorry, Judge's volume is up, so it causes it. But I know they're looking at closing them again because of the fact that the numbers are spiking now that the weather's getting better and more people are out.
Right. But this kid, I mean, mom's terrified. I get it. She's seen him on a ventilator when he was a little guy.
Yeah, but again, part of me is too is like that was when he was bored.
I know. I know.
Sorry about that. But yeah, it's
Look
just
at
I
you
know
all dressed up and you look pretty. I'm just wearing a shirt. I'm wearing pants.
I know. It's just we have to. I mean, we can wear jeans, but waist up, we're still supposed to be business schedule. So,
yeah.
It's just I understand her concern, and it's hard, but at the same time, 4 and 31 are long ways away.
I know, but
and again, we're talking, like you said, we're not talking about a little kid anymore. We're talking about an adult, even though, mentally he may not be 31. But, and again, we're going from a home to a car to a home that.
So the mistake, I think, on Dad's part was agreeing at the beginning. Because
to letting him stay with mom for the duration.
All of us have been having kids go between houses, right? Little kids. Yeah. This kid is at a higher risk, but if Dad could give some assurance, and it didn't help that he wasn't completely straightforward about what was going on with him.
Yeah. And I think the whole medical scare was a big issue.
Yeah.
Definitely. But I think if he can agree to the terms, that it'll make things easier. And maybe if Georgine is willing to be tested just as an extra assurance, it might work. But yeah, I mean, because again, in our juvenile cases, the kids are still going between parent and parent. Yeah. It just, that's what the order is.
And that's what I've been telling my clients in the divorce cases. Yeah, they're going.
Like, sorry, but the judge is not going to deny the other parent because of what's going on. There's assurances that have to be made. You can't just go to the, like my kids, I don't even take them to the grocery store. I don't. I'm like, my older one, she's been to Walmart with me. My little one, we did a graduation drive-by for a family member, and I've been to my mother-in-law's house. But other than that, she's at home. And thankfully, her father and I are engaged and we live together, so it's not that. But my older daughter, she has to go back and forth. If her dad wants to see her, he wants to see her. I can't keep her. My 18-year-old, unfortunately, he does what he wants to do. So I'm like, look, he's like, but mom, I have a compromised immune system. I said, dude, no, you don't. You've been sick one time in your life. Like, calm down. You caught a walking pneumonia, and that was your fault. It wasn't like you just caught it out of nowhere. You were not doing what you're supposed to be doing. I said, don't let your girlfriend try to tell you have a compromised immune system. You're fine. Go get a job. I have one. Your dad's got one. You need to go get one because I'm not going to continue supporting you.
So what's he doing?
So he was in school before it started, and then school stopped. But because he goes to cosmetology school. Oh, so good. Because they're technically a salon, they were allowed to open back up, and their class sizes is smaller anyway. It's not like a huge university where you've got 50 kids. I think he's got maybe 10 to 12 people in his classroom.
Yeah.
So they started back Monday, just doing classroom regrouping, just getting used to things. And I think at the end of the month, they're reopening back for guests.
Yeah, you can't really do that remote. I mean, you have to be hands-on.
It is, and that's why they were
Hair or makeup or
hair.
Hair. Wow.
I mean, they learn all of it,
Yeah, they do.
but his primary
That's what he wants.
will be hair. Yeah.
Wow. And then what? Does he know where he wants to go with that?
I mean, he'll work in a salon for a while, but eventually his goal is to open up his own. At one point, he was like, well, maybe I should do, you know, he thought about like doing a, you know how they have dog washes that come to you?
Yeah, yeah.
Like they come out with the bus and you go, the dog goes in the bus and they take care of it.
No.
He thought about that, you know, like being able to go to people. I said, but you gotta, I said, yes, there's less overhead. I said, but you gotta be careful with that because now not only do you have to take into consideration your client, but you also have to take into consideration travel time. So if you're running late, it's different where they're coming to you. And if they're there a little early or you're running a little behind, you know, you tell them, my apologies, you know, this is what's going on. It'll be just a few minutes, as opposed to now you're stuck in traffic somewhere. So I said, you got to really kind of be careful with that, you know.
Well, if he's at a big place like Mario Tricosi or something like that, there's even health insurance and all of that while he learns the trade and maybe builds practice.
The good thing is that he still qualifies under my insurance until he turns 26. So no matter what, I'll cover him for his medical, dental, and vision, as long as he's not married. Fingers crossed until after he's 26. Then I'll cover. I'll keep him on mine because I have my other two that will always be on there. And our insurance here, thankfully, the family plan is the same cost, no matter if you have one child or you have 10, or you know you have a husband and children. It's all the same price. Right. It doesn't fluctuate. So I told him there's no reason why I can't just keep him on there.
Yeah. Wow.
But it's just been a crazy time. I mean, even my fiance, he works for United, and they've trying to keep from laying them off completely, and they keep minimizing his hours. And you know, even though thankfully he was able to file for unemployment, it's still just hard. But I told him, I said, look, think of it as a good thing. You're home with the girls while I'm at work.
Well, you know, because that's been such a challenge for people and people who are trying to work from home and homeschool.
Oh, that was ridiculous. I mean, my 14-year-old, it was fine. She's got enough discipline where she was able to do it. Yeah. But for my 5-year-old, trying to get her to focus on a computer. Yeah. And at home, she's like, I'm hungry. Oh, I want to watch TV. Oh, I've got to go to the bathroom. I'm like, you know, the same rules apply here as they do there. You can't just eat all day long. I don't think I've spent so much money in groceries. You would think 2 girls don't eat as much as like my teenage son did and my nephew when they were living in the house. But I'm like, man, they eat just as much as they do. Hey, Jeremy, you're back.
He's back.
I'm back. I think I told my client not to hit leave meeting, but I think she may have left.
Yeah, she left. I think she left. Let me check the room. Hold on. Yeah. No, she's still in the room.
Oh, really?
Do you want me to bring her back in?
If you can bring her back in, that might be the best way.
Let me join and tell her to come. I'll be right back.
Okay.
I'll be here. I'm just chatting with whoever's willing to talk to me.
Yeah. There's always. Oh, there's Donna.
There she is.
All right.
I'm back. Okay.
The clerk just went to get you out of the room, so hopefully she's back. Yeah.
I did. I finally hit the right lead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't want to do the wrong thing.
All right. Just thinking I don't know if I should text Josh and let him know that we're back.
Sure.
Donna, you tricked me. You came in the main room while I was going to go get you out of the breakup.
We passed in the hallway.
We did. We just,
thank you.
Two ships passing in the night.
Yeah, thank you anyway.
No problem. Do you want me to text? Are you texting Jeremy? Because I was like,
yeah,
I can chat with them.
I just texted Josh and let him know that we just re-entered the main room, so hopefully he gets
Understood. Understood. Yeah, but it's just crazy, Bella. I mean, even my wedding right now is up in the air because we don't know what is going on.
Yeah,
Bad timing for
stepson-
weddings.
Yeah, my stepson was getting married in August. He still is, but they went from like some crazy thing, like, 200 people to 50 and maybe just 10.
Yeah, ours is scheduled for October, and we're just like, what are we gonna do? Do we wait and see what the hotel was gonna do? Do we try to move it? Do we, and I'm like, well, my dress is ordered. I can't stop that. It'll be
what I told our kids was, look, I'm a divorce lawyer, and I can tell you the wedding is not as important as the marriage.
Correct.
Yeah.
So keep the date and have a party another time. I mean,
and that's what he said. He's like, thankfully, Judge, I don't know if you're familiar with Judge Salvi, but he's actually marrying us. So
cool.
And he's like, wherever you want me to be, I'll be, so I'm not concerned about, I know on my date I'll get married. It's not an issue.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just like, well, if I reschedule, am I gonna even want to do it by then? I'm gonna be like, you know what? We're married, who cares?
I'll tell you what, and Jeremy, you could speak to this too. I do divorces where we're still paying off the wedding.
Yeah.
We got a credit card. So
no, but that's the funny thing. It's paid for. So I'm like, all right, everybody's back. I'm gonna go ahead and grab Judge, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
So are they in 201 because the wood seems dark?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an old courtroom.
Yeah, no, I like those old courtrooms. I'm a legal nerd. I like to go to places and sometimes go to the courthouses when I'm traveling.
Oh yeah, I've done a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Did you do the Puerto Rico family law seminar where we went to the courthouse there?
Yeah, no, I didn't do that one.
Oh, it was pretty cool. Yeah, it was a real old sort of just from like the 1800s. It was very cool. Yeah.
But I've been to Puerto Rico. Old San Juan is just like so cool.
Beautiful area. Yeah.
Out in Kane County, I know there's a new giant one, but the old courthouse in Kane County is really cool.
Yeah, I like that place.
Yeah.
Okay, we're back.
We're back.
All right, thank you, Judge.
So anybody like to say anything?
I'm sure we both do. I don't know who you want to hear from first.
Well, let me start, I guess. I'll just say, so I had a chance to talk with Donna, obviously, she's still concerned. We understand what you were saying is if you take the park out of the equation, our thoughts were sort of as follows to sort of meet in the middle and to kind of go off of Bella's recommendations. Would be, obviously if Georgina is willing to get tested, that would go a long way towards allaying those concerns as far as the house goes. Our suggestion would be, that if she can do that, that would be great. Tonight, we thought could still be at the park. My client tells me that basically the only picnic tables are by the pool area, and then there's just huge wide open space so they can go wherever with the portable picnic table and the stuff that she's provided. And then we would like to follow Bella's recommendations as far as frequency rather than the alternating weekends. And our suggestion was Tuesday, Thursday, every week from 5 to 8, and then Sundays from noon to 6. And our preference would be that then those take place on Dillard's deck. Obviously, the order should include that, everybody's going to follow protocol. There won't be third parties there, everything, etc. So that would resolve a lot of the concerns over his health. One of the reasons for preferring the frequency also over the weekends is that Matthew does have like a CPAP machine that he sleeps with every night, and so not transporting that medical equipment back and forth, we feel like would also be better. Which is part of the reason, on top of Bella's comment that the frequency is also, I think, all good for their relationship. So that's sort of our compromise position, that we believe would be taking care of Matthew's health, in this time where we don't really know, just to make sure that he's safe, but then also allowing for the time to take place. So.
Okay, Mr. Schwartz?
Well, Dillard would agree to or I guess his position would be this Thursday today from 6 to 9 p.m. outside in his backyard. He's got 2 backyard patio areas, I think a raised deck and then a paved patio. He also has a screened in porch off the side of his house. That Sunday, Father's Day, would be 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. at his residence, allowing inside residents. What I'm told is that they spend most of their time in the basement, where there's a quote unquote man cave with TV and couch and all his movies and games and all the things like that. I know that I think in last court date or in conversations with Ms. Rappaport and Mr. Spitzer, I think Donna was desirous of transporting Matthew. So he'd be willing, if that assuages some of her fears or concerns, he's willing to let her transport Matthew. And although the court, has no authority, I did speak with Dillard, and as a gesture of good faith and an olive branch, he spoke to Georgine, and she would, of course, would agree to get a COVID test for purposes of making this maybe go smoother going forward. But then realistically, we would like to have our normal parenting time pursuant to that agreed order reinstated with the makeup as requested before. So for these 2 days, we're willing to work with everyone. And I think going forward, he'll take every precaution, and we can put whatever language we want, that they'll follow CDC guidelines. Dillard said the washroom in his residence that Matthew uses is only used by him, that he and Georgine don't use it and won't use it. But I think just giving Dillard, 3 hours for afternoons, and then 6 hours on a weekend. I mean, that's realistically only 12 hours a week, as opposed to 48 plus and if I'm not mistaken, his Thursday time is usually 6 to 10 every. So, I mean, that's 48, 52, 56 hours a week that he would normally do with Matthew versus the 12 that's being offered by.
It'd be 56 every 2 weeks because every other weekend, not a week.
Correct.
I mean,
okay.
Yeah. So I mean, we're talking about
24.
Right. So I mean, here. Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
yeah.
So I think and this is part of our issue that we keep hitting is every time we try to meet somewhere in the middle to do what's right for Matthew, their response is, well, let's just go back to what the normal parenting time is. And, we still have concerns over, I mean, because and again, I don't want it because we've been trying to focus on just doing what's right for Matthew and moving forward. But we've got problems because the first court date, Mr. Feltner said, oh, I've been home since December. And then it came out in the breakout room that he'd been in the hospital the week before. He says that that they've been working from home, but we know that Georgine travels for work. They went on a vacation in February, so he hasn't been home from December. He's got another child that we know has visited. So, I mean, we've got these concerns and we can't show, I'm not trying to get into arguments over this, but again, the priority is what is best for Matthew. And I understand, that he's entitled to a relationship with his father, and we're trying to accommodate that while also taking every precaution normal. So to just say, all right, well, we'll meet him, for a short period of time once and then go back to the normal parenting schedule. When Mr. Feltner agreed in March, and I would like to go back, I know earlier Josh said, hey, let's not go talk about the back, why he missed parenting time. Well, let's talk about it. Mr. Feltner agreed that this was a dire situation and that they needed to be very, very, very careful. Nothing's really changed. COVID's still out there. We sort of flattened the curve, but it's still a danger. That I would like to make sure everybody is aware of. I mean, by suggesting this, we're not saying, hey, let's get one over on Mr. Feltner's relationship with Matthew. It's saying, let's not transport his CPAP and medical equipment every other weekend. Let's give him frequent contact for longer periods of time. those are the things that I think make sense to make sure that Matthew's okay. It's not about Donna, it's not about Dillard, it's about Matthew. So that's our problem. Every time we try to say, well, what about this? The response is, let's just go back to the regular time. But like, I don't think that that's taking into account what Bella said was very, very important, which is to be cautious for this very high risk individual.
Judge, if I may just, I don't want to interrupt you. I apologize, Your Honor. So let's just flip it around. Let's have Matthew reside with Dillard full time, and Donna will receive Tuesday and Thursday from 5 to 8 and Sunday from 12 to 6. I don't think she would be amenable to that or agree to that because it's not realistic. It's not real parenting time that was afforded to everyone before Corona. And you're correct, Jeremy. Bill said when Corona first started that let's hold off on this. And he will testify that he agreed to that initially. But that was when no one in the world knew what Corona was. So it's a different situation now. So if this position is good for Dillard, it should be good for Donna. So that's all I have to say on that, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Rappaport, do you want to add anything else before?
I don't really know that there's anything to add, but it isn't what's good for Dillard and it isn't what's good for Donna. It's maintaining a level of safety, and it's maintaining these relationships. And how do we do that? So I appreciate Dillard's willingness to do things that the court might not be able to order, and that there might be testing and limitations. But, switching households, that's not even a possibility. That's not even an option here. This young man has resided with his mother exclusively for quite a long period of time. And he has done really well. And as I was saying before, and Judge, I don't know that you're aware, but Donna has provided me with annual reports for years. And so I have been aware of his progress. And nobody is saying that Dill is not supportive of his son. It's just trying to figure out a way to maintain the connection in a safe fashion. That's all I have on that.
So Ms. Rappaport, I'm going to ask you a question. If a safe environment were established in 2 locations,
correct,
then where would the heightened risk come from?
There wouldn't be a heightened risk if we knew it was secure at Dad's house. The heightened risk is after exposure. If the exposure is equal, the problem is the quarantine situation was not equal coming into this at the beginning of June. It may be equal now if in fact no one has come in and out of Mr. Feltner's home. But mother was observing a quarantine to a different level than Dad.
Okay, so that's where I'm trying to head here, is establishing a safe environment in both locations. And then the number of hours is not the critical piece. I'm going to say this too. There is still risk to this young man just by living his life. There is no perfect situation. But if we can establish to the greatest extent possible that we have 2 safe environments, then that will be, a great import to this court. And so if Dill, if Georgine is willing to test, and if you are willing to comply with the CDC guidelines, and that, the parties can't travel without engaging in a re-quarantine situation, that other parties can't be present without a re-quarantine situation, which is what I'm understanding is the circumstance at Donna's home, then I don't see a reason that we cannot reestablish parenting time in both locations. But it's a matter of making sure that the same level of safety is being honored in both of those locations to limit the amount of risk to Matthew. And, I know during the course of this conversation, it's been, that there's punishment or this is not about punishment. This is not about rewarding or, in some way disadvantaging one party over the other. My only concern here is Matthew. My only concern is protecting him to the greatest extent that we can, knowing that it is not possible to protect him completely. And also knowing that, God forbid if something happens, we just have to make certain that we have done the best that we can do. So, I don't think it's reasonable or realistic that every bit of parenting time is required on a screen porch or in a park or whatever. But what I want to do is establish that we have 2 locations that are similarly protected for him to prevent any heightened risk to exposure, which could be catastrophic for him. So that's where I'm trying to work. That's what I'm trying to work toward. And so if I can have those assurances, then I'm going to feel far more inclined to either reinstate on some modified, under some modified circumstances. I mean, to me, it's, which day it is or the number of hours. I suspect Matthew's not counting hours, but I realize that the value of the time that's spent is important. And I think the location contributes to it. And I think the things that they're able to do matter. So let's create a safe place for him in both homes. If we can do that, then I don't think we have an issue.
I would agree, Your Honor. So when you say 2 secure locations, you mean Donna's residence and Dill's residence, correct? Not 2 separate locations in Dill's residence, or do you?
No, I mean Donna's residence, and then let's establish that Dill's residence is also, to the greatest extent possible, safe and secure from exposure.
Certainly.
So there's 2 people living there. I'm certainly not an expert in contact tracing, but it's my understanding that they're both working from home, that they're not traveling for work at this time. Because if there's an interruption in that situation, then, then we have to stop and take a look, and we have to, I think quarantine for 14 days or whatever, the requirement is. But we can't put something back in place and then just, and this would apply to Donna, to you too, in the event that you were to travel or to have other people in the home. I think that if we're going to create 2 safe environments, then everybody is going to have to abide by the same restrictions.
So would part of the language in the order be, Your Honor, that neither party shall have, I guess, third parties in their residence, excluding Georgine, who resides there, without the written agreement of the other party? And if that does occur, they shall notify one another within 24 hours of same, and a 14-day quarantine would then be imposed on either party who had that third party contact in the residence.
I think that's what we want to talk about, is what's going on in the 2 respective homes, what kind of exposure is there, and I think we have to establish some balance. I mean, Ms. Rappaport just said that that what Donna was doing was not the same as what Dill was doing, right? You said that she was following a different set of procedures and policies in her home. And what we're concerned about is exposure for Matthew. So let's establish what the rules are. And in the event that obviously things happen, sometimes people have to travel, sometimes people come in, but I do think there needs to be notice. And then, in the homes, we can establish what the guidelines are. I mean, in terms of, I think it's great that Matthew has his own bathroom and he'll be using that. And, I mean, those kinds of things I think will provide comfort to the other side and to the court. It's hard for me to impose them on the parties in a court order because I don't know all the specifics and details of the respective homes. but it seems to me we should be able to get there.
I don't disagree. I mean, obviously, you know, if both parties are able to follow the same, you know, obviously Donna's been very, very strict, as you heard from Bella, with her quarantining and with Matthew. So I guess, you know, on a philosophical level, yes, that's fine. But obviously, you know, I don't know. I guess if you have like a self-reporting mechanism, like Josh was saying, but I mean, I don't know if Georgine, you know, I don't know when the last time she traveled for work. We know that she flies for work, or we don't know if she goes back to work, or Dill goes back to work. You know, those are all things then that would change the situation. You know, so what happens if Georgine has to fly or travel or drive somewhere, you know, where she's exposed? Then we have the 2-week quarantine. And, you know, I guess our concern is that relies entirely on, you know, I mean, how do you show that? I guess that's the concern, is there's multiple people, you know, that have been in and out. And I guess Mr. Feltner's saying that the daughter had returned in April to Missouri, you know, which we weren't aware of. We thought she was still there. But I guess that's our concern, is if there's a third party in the house, you know, then that needs to be reported and a 2-week quarantine put in place. I mean, if everybody follows those guidelines, that would help. It's just a difficult, you know, that's a hard thing to trace and track and then what? I mean, you just do a 2-week quarantine before resuming the parenting time. I guess that's kind of the putting an order like that in place is difficult, I guess, to follow and enforce is our concern.
And I'm going to have to rely on honesty and integrity of the parents of Matthew, because it's been represented to me throughout this proceeding that everybody has his best interests at heart. So, and these aren't, you know, my restrictions. These are the restrictions that doctors and people much smarter than me are imposing on all of us. And I think if we were to comply with them in this situation, then we'd be doing the right thing. If somebody is, you know, sneaking around and, well, no, you're right. There isn't going to be, but they'd be talking about risking the health of their son. And so I can't imagine a higher price to pay for being untruthful. So I don't expect that is going to be an issue if everyone commits to compliance. You were going to say something, Mr. Schwartz?
Sure. I mean, Donna may, I don't know what higher quarantine than Dillard means, but I mean, we're not talking about the inability to go to the grocery store to pick up grocery items, right? We're talking about unnecessary contact with individuals. Is that correct? I mean, I imagine Donna's been going to a grocery store or getting items at Walgreens or wherever she needs to go. But I don't see why that makes her a stronger quarantine candidate than Dillard.
So what I was hearing, that there was some suggestion that maybe there had been travel or there had been people in and out of the house, and that now at this point there has not been, at least for the last 14 days, there's been no travel by either party living in the home. Is that the representation?
Yes, yeah, correct. Dillard's been home, Georgine has been home, and Georgine's daughter was not in the residence since end of April. And these concerns, while I get the idea of a concern is valid, but these are just almost like wild guesses, right? Just throwing it out there, and now it seems like Dillard is doing something in an inappropriate manner or not quarantining appropriately.
This has been, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but this has been the ongoing problem and why we're before Your Honor and why I wasn't able to craft an agreement. And what I hear you saying, Judge, is come up with mutual guidelines that everyone thinks are appropriate and with which everyone can abide, something written down and clear that this is how we will conduct ourselves in both households. But when we go down that path, it feels restrictive and maybe, over more than the court's authority, but it would get us to agreement, which would get us out of the court system. And that's been where I've been trying to go with this. And I'm hearing you address those very concerns. Can't we have mutual rules in both households as to whether or not there are third parties who come in, as to whether or not either any of the individuals interact outside of the house, and Matthew's contact with other people.
And that's precisely it. I mean, really, some of this is beyond the boundary of my authority.
Right.
But what I'm saying to you, mother and father, to Matthew, is that you both have these very genuine and sincere concerns about his health and well-being. You both have homes where things are not precisely the same, but I think that you could reach an agreement about what the activity and behaviors and environmental circumstances would be in both of your respective homes that you'd be honoring. And then you would know with confidence that when Matthew is in either of those respective places, that he is exposed to and subject to the best and most protected circumstances that we can provide for him. And then it's you know, it's fair and it's reasonable, and it's not imposing additional restrictions on Dill or on, you know, Donna. Everybody's going to play by the same rules, basically. So what those rules would, so this is what I'm going to suggest for today. And I hate to keep putting this off, but I really think that Donna and Dill, you both need to be a part of what this agreement would be. And so we basically have an agreement for this week, for today and for Sunday.
And do we, Judge?
Not really. Yeah, I don't think we do.
So well, we're going to have
we're gonna have something. Yeah.
All right. So today, Mr. Schwartz, I thought you had suggested. I didn't think that was.
Today, I suggested, Your Honor, after our breakout, that today would be 6 to 9 at Dillard's patio, backyard, screen and porch, any of those outside areas, not in the residence.
Okay, so let me.
Of course, Matt.
Sure. Is there an objection to that, Mr. Spitzer?
I think our I guess, I don't know, I'll have to talk to Donna. Our suggestion was to do today at the park, just because Georgine hasn't been tested, obviously. So I don't know if Georgine's not going to be there. That might help assuage some of Donna's concerns if it's on the deck. The screened-in porch, I don't know what that's like. Obviously, there may not be as much airflow. And since it's a particle disease, it's spread via stuff like that. I think she'd feel more comfortable if it was outside. Our suggestion was park today and then Sunday being on his deck, assuming that Georgina could go get tested today or tomorrow. That was our original proposal for this weekend.
And Judge, if I may, with respect to the Georgine issue, obviously Dill has been residing with her this entire time. If he is negative after 14 days of being in the hospital, I believe it is a reasonable conclusion that Georgine is also negative, because I'm sure Dill and Georgine have been in close proximity to one another throughout this entire period. And if he had a test on Monday, which proved him to be negative, I think it's a reasonable inference that she in fact is negative. And although we don't have confirmation, I think that's a reasonable conclusion to reach.
Okay, so I'm going to say that since Georgine has agreed to be tested, which I greatly appreciate, that
correct,
until we have the results of her test, for today and Sunday, assuming that the result is not back on Georgine's test, that the parenting time will just be with Dill. And this evening from 6 to 9 on the screen porch is fine, or in the backyard. And then on Sunday, there was a dispute about the hours.
Correct. My client was seeking 9 to 9, and I was thinking 9 to 9. I think Jeremy said 12 to 6.
12 to 6, right?
Okay. So it's going to be from 10 to 6. Also, in the event that Georgine's test is not back, then it would just be with Dill. And then what I want you both to do is to put down your, exchange with each other the rules that everybody's going to live by. And then if you can't reach an agreement about it, then next week I will have to impose them on everybody.
Understood, Your Honor.
I want to just, this is your son. And this is very important. And if you put it in my hands, I will rule on it. But wouldn't it be better if you could come to reasonable agreement? And I'll be honest with you, I still find you to be both really pushing the boundaries here. Stop thinking about what it is you want and start thinking about what will create the best, safest environment for Matthew so that he can be in both of your homes and that everybody is going to live by the same rules. So start thinking about it that way as opposed to what somebody else is getting and what you aren't getting. Okay.
Understood, Your Honor. And then for just clarification for the order for Sunday 10 to 6, is this allowable in Dillard's basement area or is this only backyard area?
So I don't even know what the
With Georgine not present unless there's a COVID test, you know, we agree to that.
so
it's just,
I prefer that it would be to the extent possible, you know, on the screened in porch or in the backyard. I don't know what the weather is going to be for Sunday. I know he's going to have to use a bathroom. I don't know where that bathroom is in the house, as opposed, you know, how accessible it is, the bathroom that he typically uses, how accessible it is to the screened in porch. I don't know if the weather's going to be cold. I mean, you know, folks, come on, we've got to be a little bit reasonable here and we've got to start working together instead of, there's so much, it's so frustrating to me that we can't get to a finish line because I really think everybody wants the same thing, but it's for fear that somebody's going to get some advantage or something. I don't know. It's kind of a mystery to me. I mean, we want him to be safe. We want him to be protected. We want him to be comfortable during his parenting time with his father. We want him to have access to the bathroom. Can you, Mr. Schwartz, tell me, do you know where that bathroom is in terms of access from the yard or screened in porch, you know?
well, I have not had the opportunity to visit my client's residence, but you know, I'm happy to allow him to speak to that, Your Honor. So Dill, if you want to unmute yourself and let the court know.
Okay, the Matthew has his own bedroom, and next to his own bedroom is his own bathroom. His bedroom opens out to a deck. So if we were on the deck, he could walk directly from the deck to his bedroom to his bathroom. The screened in area is on the other side of the house. So if he needed to go to the bathroom, he could walk around the house and follow the same path I just mentioned. He could go to the deck, through his bedroom, into his bathroom.
Okay, so he can access the deck from the outside. It's not like it has a barrier.
Oh yeah, we have a big walkway. It goes around the house, right?
All right. Okay, so, and I'm confident that you are going to make sure that the bathroom is sterilized, you know, wiped down. But then he'll have the ability to walk through his bedroom to use the bathroom. Okay, so I think that's a workable situation. So the deck, the bathroom, the screened in porch, the backyard are all areas where Matthew could have access on Father's Day parenting time from 10 till 6. And then I know that there wasn't a previous offer that Donna would do the transportation. Is that still?
I think she's willing to drive to, Donna, you can correct me on this if you feel, but I think she's willing to do the transportation tonight. But then I think our thought was that they've previously met at what used to be an old Baker Square in Libertyville. So probably starting Sunday, they could meet there to do the exchange. Just stay away. Obviously, they're going to stay outside in the parking lot. And as long as, again, I mean, if everyone's following the recommendations, then the cars should be fine.
Okay, so you're saying Sunday, today she's going to drive to.
Today she'll do the driving, and then I believe Sunday they should start meeting in the normal place.
Mr. Schwartz?
That's fine. Diller was only offering that because I think earlier in conversation, another court date, Donna was requesting that she do all the transport. So that was an olive branch from Dill. But the order is, I mean, we'll follow the order as it's, you know,
okay,
as
so
it's written.
Mr. Spitzer, if you're saying that she's comfortable having him be in the two separate cars, that's fine. I mean, if she.
Right. I think the original thought was obvious. She was offering to do all the driving basically when we're going to do it out in I mean, if he's going to be in the screened-in porch and then ultimately in the house, I don't think that the driving makes that big of a difference. I mean, the reason she was going to drive was because she was going to do all the driving and then they were going to meet in a public place without anyone else around. But if he's spending, I guess that's the issue. So she'll do the driving tonight, and then I think it makes sense.
I thought the concern was being in another location, which is a second vehicle, but.
That is part of the concern. Yeah, that was, but.
Okay, so then I'm gonna leave it in your client's court in terms of that.
That's fine, Judge. One way or another, Donna will drive tonight, Sunday, council and I can we'll
figure it
draft
out.
an order.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
All right.
And so then when do we come back next, Your Honor?
So as much as I really hate to do this, I don't see any. So the next parenting, a week really it's going to have to be. I'm looking at the 25th or the 25th. Now, of course, if the parties are able to reach an agreement in advance of that date, then that agreed order could be submitted to me and everybody could avoid a court date.
Certainly, Judge.
Continue to try to work through something.
Yeah, at least some of them. And if there are some issues that need to be determined by me, then I will be happy to do it. But I just really think the time is now to kind of put the bad, hard feelings behind you, start thinking about how we can best protect Matthew, and everybody follow the same rules. So.
Correct, Judge. The 25th, I know I have a pretrial before Judge DeRue in 101, and sometimes yesterday I did one before Judge Christensen. I was waiting for an hour and a half to get into a breakout room with the court. So I don't want to waste the court's time expecting a 9 a.m. for me there that day and not being able to appear. So I'm happy to do the afternoon. I don't know if Your Honor has court that afternoon.
We could do the afternoon, 1:30. Again, hoping that it won't be necessary because the parties will.
Certainly.
On the 25th, I'm actually in a pretrial with Judge DeRue at 1:30.
Okay. Judge DeRue is busy.
Yeah, it's his pretrial day.
How about the 24th?
The 24th I can do in the morning. I cannot do in the afternoon.
I'll look Raven and see what the 24th looks like.
I'm actually before Your Honor on the 24th on a GAL matter there, so I'll be in your courtroom anyway.
Could we do it at 10 on the 24th?
That works for me.
Busy.
But not for the court. Okay.
Busy. Look at the 26th. How about 10 or 10:30 on the 26th?
I can do that.
So normally I would say yes if we were in normal court, but I have two matters up at 9 before Judge Lombardo, and then a 1:30 pretrial before Judge DeRue. So
would 10:30 work?
I mean, I'm happy to say 10:30 or maybe 11 might be better, just because I have a hearing and a pretrial on the 26th in the morning.
Why don't we, Mr. Spitzer? Are you
yes?
Okay. Ms. Rappaport? Okay. So let's say 10:30, but then Mr. Schwartz, if you're going to be delayed, you can just contact
Yes, Judge.
Rappaport and Mr. Spitzer, and we'll just do it, we'll just delay a little bit.
That's fine.
Okay, no problem, Judge. Order to follow CC 201 Lake County IL. Who to attention to Raven?
Raven. RAVEN.
Yes, Judge. All right, guys, I can try to circulate an order with what was discussed today. I'll circulate it to both Mr. Spitzer and Ms. Rappaport prior to the court.
Thank you. I'm
Good.
thinking optimistic thoughts. Okay.
We all are, Judge.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, Judge. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks. Take care.